All right, so we're getting ready. Let me see if anyone else. Okay, so we've got we probably need. All right, let me close this out here. All right, so all right,
So we're just missing Carly,
and
Lacey,
Lacey and Emily Campbell.
Emily Campbell. Okay.
Oh wait, here's Carly. There we go. Hi, Carly. All right. So let me see here. What I All right, so we're missing Emily and Lacey. And again, I don't know if Lacey will be be able to be on the call, only because I know she wasn't feeling well. She was sick the other day and couldn't participate. All right. Well, since this is our inaugural meeting, and I'm thrilled that we have that Curtis Wells uh, brought to the commission this opportunity. And I just before we get into all of the formal details on the agenda, we do have a Grand County Economic Development board that was created last June, I want to say, to enable to distribute the the SB 95, the funds that come from GOED to distribute it. And last year that group distributed $95,833. We still have some funds that are sitting there that we're waiting to disperse. So that group, because there was some confusion about the two different groups, that group is purely to really work on how, when those funds come in, how we want to spend those funds. Do we want to do grant funding? Do we want to, are there scholarships? Are there things that we want to talk about that can help our community? So that group, the EGDC group, is separate. This Grand County Economic Development Advisory Council was created for us to take a look at all the impediments that we would have as a county to moving economic development forward. And I think that, some people said, why do you have two groups? One does one thing and, takes care of the grant funding, and that has that purpose. And this group is really to hone in on how we can take our county and city and help move it forward to diversify our economy, because we certainly can't be tourism dependent, fully tourism dependent as we have been, and realizing this is going to take a process. So that's the difference between the two. We're going to look at this. If you've gone through the the resolutions or the bylaws, we really have to look at planning and zoning and determine what challenges do we have in that regard, and how can we help. Let me see. How can we help? Maybe look at those laws that are in place and advise and go to before the commission and request that the changes be made. And again, I'm not quite sure if any of that exists, but I think the group that we obviously have assembled, that the commission has approved, is really great. I think you all could bring something to the table. And the good thing is that Commissioner Wojtek, who is here with us in this meeting, also is part of the GECD board and also on the Southeast Utah Association of Local Governments. And all of these groups. So he's kind of the anchor for us to all of these different groups and organizations, so that he'll be able to facilitate in getting, communication, the right type of communication to the right groups, so we can move forward. So let me just, so Gabriel, I don't know if you want to take a minute. I'm going to try to email Emily Campbell real quick.
Oh yeah, I'm not muted. Oh, cool. Yeah, let me see here. I don't know if we're ready to quite jump into introductions. I mean, yeah, I think we're gonna talk today about just some discussion, and I don't think any of us had much homework to do prior to this meeting, so I think this is just going to be about lining out some priorities, maybe throwing out some ideas that people might already have, and then we can sort of either pursue some of those ideas that might already be out in the air that we can sort of look at, or establish priorities moving forward. So I think, as Elaine said, and I would say that Elaine is equally instrumental in her role, and including August in her office, in terms of bridging all of the entities involved in this effort. But certainly with my role on the commission, hopefully I'll be I guess I view my particular role as a Grand County Commissioner to sort of be able to sell the rest of the commission on any actions that we might be taking, or that we might be endorsing, and also serving as a conduit for the commission as well, to sort of be able to steer the conversation that happens here to legislation that would likely be supported.
Great. I think that's awesome. Again, do you want to start? Should we start with introductions?
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
So that was me. And I've been on the commission now for 16 months or so, and as Elaine suggested, this is kind of becoming this idea of economic diversification and general economic development is becoming sort of my focus as a commissioner, and I'm still learning a lot about it, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot from you all about it, so I can be more well versed. And I have a lot to learn, so I'm by no means an expert, and I want to listen and help facilitate mostly at this point, but hopefully I can be a creative force as well.
Great. And we'll go to Brandon.
All right, so I am a Grand County high school graduate. I've been in Moab since 1996. My parents moved me here. Graduated high school, went to college at the University of Utah, got a bachelor's of science in electrical engineering. Went to work for Intel, hated every second of it. Quickly got a job with Intrepid Potash under a guy named Rick Klein. He trained me, was my mentor, and I became the plant manager at the Intrepid Potash mine. So I've been there since 2007. While I've been there, I've gotten an MBA from Colorado Mesa University. And the reason I decided to join this board was just knowing that I have a industrial perspective. I keep a real close eye on all of the oil and gas activity here and throughout the Four Corners region, because a lot of our product goes directly to the oil and gas market. I keep a real close eye on the lithium projects in the area that people are looking at, speculating on right now. I know there's also some bromine speculation up north of town. So I am an expert on solution mining, underground salt extraction. So I was hoping some of that industry experience might lend itself to the discussion. I know there are some opportunities on the horizon in the county. And then I know, just across the county, there's in San Juan County, the copper mine, they're converting to a solution mine. So, and with copper prices at over $4 a pound, their outlook looks really bright right now. There's also the Paradox Valley salt salinity control council project that I'm trying to insert myself into, and they want to partner with Intrepid, and that would have a big effect on Grand County also. So looking at some of those perspectives, hopefully I can bring something to the table and be of assistance.
That's great. Liana?
Hi, I'm Liana Etchberger, and I am the Associate Vice President of the Utah State University campus here in Moab. And this is really cool to meet you, Brandon, because we're working on, so we have over 50 degrees and certificates, and I can see, I'm interested in being in this role because we can serve a workforce training kind of role in whatever it is that the community decides is the next industry. And in fact, we've been working with Intrepid Potash on electrical apprenticeship programs there, and expanding those kinds of things. So we are now officially, as of maybe 2 summers ago, serving the role of a technical education, a technical college, as well as the degree programs that we have. So we have degree, associate's degrees, bachelor's, master's, a couple PhDs even that you can get here in town. And now we're also doing a lot of these certificates. And so that's sort of the role that I see that we can be playing in economic development, diversification here, and supporting that workforce piece.
That's great. That's great. August.
Sorry, my Zoom's really small for some reason. I'm trying to full screen. Give me the full screen. Well, this will work. You can hear me? So I'm brand new. This is my second month here in the Grand County Economic Development Department. I'm the first full-time staff in the Elaine administration of economic development here in the county. And we'll be hiring a Vista who starts next week. So we'll have some capacity to carry out some of these projects that hopefully this council will work on. And yeah, I'm super excited to be a part of this kind of long-term vision and creating a robust economy here and making sure that we're able to provide, high-paying jobs year-round to locals. That being said, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. If I haven't spoken to you already, we'll probably reach out to set up a one-on-one sometime soon. I have not been over to the Intrepid facility. That's definitely something on my list. So Brandon would love to connect on that. But other than that, I am the capacity to help carry out some of these projects. So that's really all for me.
Great. And Carly, who does everything at the city. Oh my gosh.
I'd like people to think that. I'm glad this is working.
Oh my God. You're involved in so many, you've got a lot going on over there.
Yeah, we do have a lot going on, just like Grand County does. I'm Carly Castle. I'm the Deputy City Manager for the City of Moab. And I'm really excited to sit on this council because we don't have an economic development department here at the city, so we appreciate the county taking the lead on this effort. We have historically, but that position has been unfilled for several years. Just some of the departments and initiatives that I'm overseeing here at the city include our sustainability initiatives, some transportation, planning, and engineering kinds of development issues here in the city. I am really excited about this council because obviously COVID and the shutdown sort of demonstrated the vulnerabilities of our economic system down here and the need for diversification. I think anyone who was not on board with it probably now is. So I think it's a great time to do it, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Well, thank you. We're glad to have participation from Moab City. I think it's really going to make a huge difference as we start to move our community forward. And we do have a visitor from Price. Jade, you might want to introduce yourself.
Hi, thanks, Elaine. Like Elaine said, I'm a visitor. My name is Jade Powell. I'm with the Southeastern Utah Association of Local Governments and Economic Development District. We cover all of Southeastern Utah, Carbon, Emery, Grand, and San Juan County. And we provide not only community services like the food banks. We run the food banks in Carbon, Emery, and Grand County, as well as provide a hot meal program in San Juan County. We do homeless prevention, housing, and things of that nature, but we also do community and economic development planning. And that is my job title. I'm the Regional Economic Development Strategist. And so the way I like to think of it is I am an addition to Elaine's office and act as staff under Elaine's discretion of whatever projects we're working on. So that's why I just want to be a part of this, help out, listen, and provide any input or assistance as needed.
Yeah, and there, Jade and his team there, and Jerry and Michael have been such a resource for me in sort of trying to, navigate grants or loans or whatever questions I might have for economic development. And I really think that office is going to be very instrumental in helping us to push for, projects that we need completed, or introductions to businesses, or anything that can really help. They have expressed to me in the short time that I've partnered with them that they are so willing to help Grand County, and I welcome that so much. So I look forward to the team up in Price being able to come in and guide and direct and help facilitate things for us. So I'm happy. Jade, thank you for being here. I appreciate you taking the time. So I guess the next on the agenda would be any conflicts of interest disclosures, ex parte communication. Is there anything anyone might need to disclose since this is a public meeting? Okay. And then I do have citizens to be heard. It does not look like there's anyone on the line, and that's good for our first meeting. So anyway, and no presentations are scheduled. And what I'd like to do is, if you have any ideas about speakers or any subject matter that you would like to be covered in our future meetings, please email me and August and myself, and the new Vista, his name is Ben Alter. He'll be here on Monday. We'll reach out to those individuals to plan to have them secure them for the next meeting. So we do have some action items that are on the agenda. As the resolution or the bylaws state, actually we have to select a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, now, and then we do have a vacancy for the planning and zoning director. Emily Campbell is representing the planning and zoning, but I'm guessing there will be a director soon, and that person will also be added here to this board. So let's see, we also need to talk about confirming future meeting dates, whether we want to meet monthly for the rest of this year, quarterly. We do have to have an annual meeting that we have to schedule. So I guess having said that, I'm not sure how to proceed with the election of the officers, but I might have to defer to either Carly or Gabriel to make a recommendation. Do we need to make a motion, or I haven't read through Robert's rules on this one.
Yeah, you could just entertain a motion to appoint a chair, to designate a chair. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll entertain a motion to select the chair for our brand new Grand County Economic Development Advisory Council.
I would make a motion to nominate Elaine Gisler to be the chair of the Economic Diversification Advisory Council.
I would second.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Oh my gosh, all in favor? Okay, and
I guess in terms of entertaining, I will say before, for the next step, I would be happy to, I guess this is just a wink, I would be happy to volunteer to be vice chair if someone were to make that motion.
okay, would someone make a motion to nominate the vice chair?
I move to nominate Gabriel Wildtech for the vice chair.
Cool.
I'll second that too.
All right. And I would entertain a motion for nomination for a secretary for this group. Does it have to be one of the, well, I guess it has to be if it's an officer. I was going to nominate August to be our secretary, but since he's not actually,
Is there anyone interested in serving as secretary?
We could also make Lacey do it since she's not here.
Oh, that's a good one, Carly. I like that.
I don't know if she'd be up for it, but.
Well, we will, we'll tell her do I have a nomination for secretary?
I'll move to nominate Lacey Shumway as a secretary. Sorry.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Well, we're recording the meeting, so it can't be that difficult. We just have to type them up, right? All right. Okay, and then I think that is all we have on the appointed positions.
I think
Elaine?
the votes still need to be held.
Yeah, I was going to say we should
Oh,
probably
yes,
call.
I'm sorry, excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Did we vote on Gabe?
Anyone opposed? Carly?
Did we vote on Gabe too? I might have missed that. I know we voted on you, Elaine.
Yes. Let's see. Oh, you know what? We have Liana made the motion, you seconded it, and all in favor of Commissioner Wojtek being the vice chair?
Aye.
All right, cool. All right. Don't worry, 6 months from now, I should have this down pretty good, I hope. Okay, so we next need to confirm meeting dates. I didn't know if you wanted to meet for a few months and then we go into quarterly meeting, or if you just think a quarterly meeting might be okay till we kind of get our feet on the ground. I guess we could have a discussion about what you think might be best.
I think it might be good to meet regular, more frequently early on as we sort of get settled. And then we can have less frequent meetings.
Okay.
Start monthly for a while.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion on the confirming meeting dates?
Do you have them listed somewhere? Am I missing something?
No, I haven't selected the actual dates. I was just wondering if we wanted to meet quarterly or monthly. I didn't want to select dates until you all decided what would work best for the group. So, and I think it's all whatever you all feel comfortable with. If you want, we're still trying to get our office and get our strategy together. And I've got August and I are out meeting with everyone we can possibly meet with, property owners, SBDC. I mean, we're trying to meet with everyone to get the real estate, some of the real estate people, the banks. So we have a lot that we have to do in order to understand. For me, I think and for our office, the big void is the planning and zoning for the county. I right now I can look at the maps, but I don't know all the intricate parts of what might prevent us from being able to, move the county forward with diversification in bringing in new businesses. Where are we zoned commercial? What does that mean? And what are the limitations? And Carly, I'm not sure with the city, because obviously I kind of, with economic development, I'm looking at the whole of Grant County, not just Grant County. I mean, I think it's important to make sure that whatever we're deciding for all of us that reside in, the county, city, county, in the community. So, and I'm not sure what restrictions or what limitations we'd have on the city planning and zoning, and whether we could appeal to, based on our findings, once we start moving forward, if we would need to appeal to the commission, the Planning and P&Z Commission at the city. I don't know who they are, but maybe we could go in front of them to introduce ourselves and let them know what we're trying to do. But I'd probably rely on you to sort of give us maybe some inside, your thoughts on what we could do. Or if you're looking at the county, what you feel, maybe looking from outside in, could be some challenges for us that we would face in the county. So, I know we don't want to talk a lot about expanding, a lot of people don't want to talk about expanding our community, but I think we really have to be realistic that if we're going to provide, more jobs, year-round jobs, not just seasonal jobs, because we want that revenue coming in 12 months a year, tax revenue. How do we move our community forward, and what are our opportunities? So I know that we're going to be focused in this office on clean and green, and whatever August and I have already had, in the short time he's been here, many conversations about what we would like to sort of reach out and look for, what type of companies. So I guess circling back to the meeting dates, it might be good to meet monthly for the next, say, 6 months. And then once we sort of get our footing, then we can always go to a quarterly meeting. If that sounds like a strategy, if someone would like to make a motion to that effect, that would be great.
Does the first Wednesday, like this one, work for folks? I mean, we're all here now. The first Wednesday of the month?
It works this time works for me.
I'm available whenever.
Liana, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I'm going like this because I'm looking at my calendar.
Oh, got it.
Gabriel, how about you? Because it's right after the commissioners meeting. Is that too much pressure?
No, it worked. I think I'm comfortable keeping it just as is, just like this for a while. Yep.
Okay.
And I'm not entirely sure it necessarily needs to be an action. I'm just looking at the bylaws here, and it's regular meetings of the members shall be held at least quarterly at a time and place designated by the council chair. I'm not sure if it has to be an action item necessarily. I guess I don't know offhand. Maybe Carly can speak to that.
So we're a public body, right? We need to adopt a regular meeting schedule.
Yeah.
So I think the adoption is some sort of action.
Okay.
Traditionally, so.
Well, I would make a move to adopt a regular meeting schedule of every month, the first Wednesday of every month, starting in today, April 7th in April, running through, would that be October, the first Wednesday of October, and perhaps an adjustment made after that point.
Okay. Yes, that would take us through to October, and then we could move forward with what would someone like to second that?
I'll second.
I think actually the 6 months would take us into September,
Okay.
right? April.
April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, September, and then the next meeting, October, could be, or we could decide that we're going to move it to a quarterly time frame. So we would go through September. You're right. Okay. So,
I'll second that, going through September.
okay. Any discussion? Further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? No. Okay. Perfect. All right, so we'll do the first Wednesday, and this time frame seems to work, and hopefully we won't need 2 hours, but we might on some occasion. Okay, so let's see. I did send out the bylaws were adopted and obviously approved by the Grand County Commission on December 15th. We did talk, I don't know if you want to get into the bylaws or ordinances at all or have a discussion about it. Does anyone want to have any further discussion about what was passed by the commission? I think I tried to explain how this council will work. Does anyone have any questions about that and how we're going to move this forward? Nope.
I would just say on the Grand County website, if we haven't all sort of familiarized ourselves with the document that was prepared, which is the Grand County Economic Diversification Action Plan, that would be a great, I'm not sure if that was on the, sorry, Elaine, I wasn't sure if that was.
That's okay. And actually, you know what? I can send that out after the meeting if everyone would like me to do that.
It's a great sort of starting point for getting the juices flowing, I think.
Right.
And, you know.
And I think,
that was sort of adopted at the same time as the bylaws.
right. I don't, Gabriel, if you happen to have that, I don't know if you just want to tick through a couple of maybe key points in there. Is there anything in there that we might want to, during this first meeting, to, take into consideration or,
I was just going to say, I can share the document, a screen share, if you want to just kind of scroll through it as a group.
Great. That's great.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Okay.
It kind of lays out a three-pronged approach, three main strategies for achieving outcomes. And then it talks about sort of, I think what I think is important is there's the outcomes and key results. And so there are some strategies with accompanying action steps and the ideal outcomes from those strategies. So I think it provides a really nice framework in that sense, in a way that we can sort of monitor and track. I don't know to what degree, this is certainly a guiding document that was, approved by the commission. I'm not sure how much we have to, use it to, limit our activity necessarily, but I think most of what we do probably would fall somewhere within the sort of the confines of this document.
Which I think does add a lot of content for us to be able to review. And maybe that's a good thing that we all review that when we come back for our next meeting, or if there's a particular point in there that we want, to address. I mean, realizing that economic diversification in this community is not going to be something that will happen fast or easy. It's going to take a lot of work, and I think what we have to do is, and I don't know if you all would welcome a representative from, and maybe it's Emily or one of the from planning and zoning from the county, do you think that might be something, or someone we might want to have on our next meeting to discuss sort of what their vision is? Because I think without understanding what the planning and zoning, what they're looking at, we have to understand where they're coming from and how they are looking forward, moving our community forward in what way. And Carly, I don't know if that would apply for the city planning and zoning, but maybe we have a presentation from each of those groups, and it doesn't have to be, an hour, but it could be, 30 minutes just to go over, this is what it looks like, here's where we are. So we all have an understanding of, and anybody jump in, I'm open for any recommendations. But I think for myself, to have a better understanding of that, as we start to push diversification, we need to know, okay, what are we looking to do? And is it different from what, planning and zoning has in mind?
I think it might also be at some point good to touch base as well with San Juan County to find points of common ground and interest.
Okay, and I think we can do that. I don't think that would be a problem at all. I think we could probably do the city and the county in one meeting, and then we could also sort of have a session that revolves around all of that. Would that be something that might work for all of us? I mean, I don't want to waste our time. I just want to make sure that we can bring people to these meetings and secure them so that they will provide us with enough insight so that we understand, okay, what we need to do, what are the next steps, and what do we need to do. We have a company that might be interested, or we find a company that could be interested, and maybe there's something in those in that zoning that could be difficult, but the company coming in, hypothetically, maybe they've got jobs that pay $25 an hour to start and they want 10 people. So how do we make that happen? And right now I couldn't answer that question from a P&Z perspective. So
I think, of course, city planning staff would be very happy to give a presentation. What might be, I'm looking over the agenda now. Sorry, I feel like I'm catching up, and I really do want
that's okay.
Diversification action plan. And it might be a nice next step for me to have this plan, and then maybe we have a brief presentation on it, so we can start identifying like priorities and obstacles, and then the planning staff and like transportation staff and all those experts can come in to talk about like maybe why those obstacles exist.
Exactly.
And how we can start understanding them better to deconstruct and problem solve. So, I mean, I'm up to all ways we could organize this, but I would want my planning staff to be able to be very helpful. So if your question is like, why is commercial like this in the city? That's a presentation they can give, right?
Sure.
And they're probably even better if it's those kinds of precise questions that we're trying to understand.
So I guess the first thing we should be tasked with is getting this out to everyone so you can all review it. And then if you do go through it and if you've got some questions, maybe what to do is to send those over to me and to August, and we'll sort of formulate the questions from everyone and then come to kind of a consensus of what we need to do for the next steps. You can also suggest, points for the agenda, anything that you feel will help us. But yes, I think we definitely need to dive into the action steps and see, or the action plan, and see what we have here and go through it. Does that sound like it might be a starting point for us?
Yeah, and I was just going to say briefly, I been looking through all of these materials just for my own catch up, and I'm more than happy to put together kind of a synthesized presentation on how we are where we are and what people have, what is in this plan and what have passed general plans, and kind of how is the county's past PAST, PASSED plans and visions suggest for the way forward and kind of the context.
Okay.
I'd be happy to work on that and
That would
present that at the next meeting.
That would be great. Okay, so if you want to construct that, put it together, and then what we'll do is send it out and we can review all of that at the next meeting. If that sounds like it will work, then that's how we'll proceed forward.
And it sounds like I don't need to keep sharing this document at this time.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to stop doing it.
Okay, that's good. And then some of the other things for future discussion that I have planning and zoning there, but CRAs I think are important. TIF, the enterprise zones, opportunity zones, the READY grant, the rural economic development incentives, any brownfields. I want to say we probably do have those here in Grand County, not sure where. I don't know if any exist in the city, if they were older gas stations or anything like that. I was thinking about Thompson Springs and the old hotel, out there. If they were, I don't know if a gas station existed out there, but that could be something that we look at as for future. And then anything else that you feel that we might want to discuss, please let me know.
One thing I thought could add some value is if we were to do a review of any recent activity. I know I saw an article about Rivian looking into putting in some kind of resource up by the Dead Horse Point 313 turnoff.
Yeah, I had a call with them this morning, my third call with them to talk to them. They, just to give you the short of it, what they decided to do early on did not work out and they backed out. So they are looking at something else. The call I had this morning, gave them a lot of background and some contact information. I think they really need to figure out what they want to do. They are, they have these things that they're thinking of, but I think they need to go back to the drawing board. And what I explained to them today was that here you are in a place where you can ride all your gas powered whatever, bike, UTV, Jeep, whatever. But wouldn't it be something to be able to come here and bring a vehicle like that here, having, your electric vehicle, your charging stations, and be able to do the same things in this amazing environment. So I said they need to go back. So I gave them a couple of people to contact. They're going to reach out and have some more conversation. But I don't think they have figured out exactly what they want to do. I think they came up with the first concept. They wanted to put it north of town, and that whole thing fell through. And I don't know the reasons why. But
you don't know any of those reasons.
Someone told me that it was because they wanted to put some infrastructure in, and the ground wasn't, it wasn't a place that it could work with septic and sewer and all that stuff. But again, I wasn't involved in that. So they've kind of moved past that, and now they're thinking, and they may be thinking on a different scale, maybe a better scale, because what I discussed with them was, here we are. I told them that with all the activity with all the marketing and advertising and mentions we've had in the last 2 weeks, that I could never pay to get that kind of marketing around the world with Jeep Safari and all this. But can you imagine if you could come here to do the same thing, but you did it sustainably, and it just, completely on the other side of the spectrum with the vehicles. So I think they're going to go back to the drawing board. They're going to think about what they want to do. They want to be here in some way, shape, or form. They just have to define what it is.
Absolutely.
So-
So at that point, I mean, if we can ask the question in those conversations of what are the hurdles you're running into, because they obviously hit a hurdle before they even got the idea out of the gate. So I think that could be a really useful point of discussion each meeting.
Right. I also think that there could have been some, and again, I don't know this, but there was some confusion, throughout planning and zoning and all that. I didn't get into the nuances of it. I kind of said, okay, where are we? What are you looking for? How can I help you? How can this office help you to move you forward? So, but I think they just are trying to figure that out. To what extent? What do they want to do? What do they want to put here? And it could turn out to be something even bigger than what they initially thought of. And that's what I'm hoping will happen. So if they started with a small project north of town that really was going to be, what I understand, were charging stations and sort of an amenities, I don't want to say a trailer, but if they took like a modular place, what I talked to them about today could morph into something bigger. And that's what I'm hoping. That's what the conversation I had with them, and I'm hoping that can materialize.
So that kind of leads into the next thing thought I had was on the action plan. When you read through that, it's got some real good points on what the incentives are for businesses to move into the area. Do we have resources that can distribute that message in one compact format?
You mean as far as getting it out on a platform, like a social media platform, or?
No, so if you're discussing with Rivian, you'd say, here's a pamphlet of some of the tax incentives that Utah offers. Here's some of the quality of life stuff we can back up with numbers. Just kind of a package that you can get out into those decision makers' hands.
We're actually working on that. August is, he and I have been working on trying to put together a sort of an economic development media kit, if you want to call it that, to really sell this area on all of those pluses and why people would want to come here. And Carly, maybe we need to talk to you at the city to find out what opportunities there may be at the city, so that we have a combined, so I'm not just talking about the county and what we can do, but it's a combination of, okay, if you're, this is what the city's offering, this is what the county's offering, and we incorporate it into one package. Would that be something that might interest you?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I'll have August, we'll reach out to you or whoever you think we need to talk to about that, because we're just at the beginning of, for instance, I have a report that I have a dashboard that I use, that I just received an update on, that tells me about the individuals, people that come here, what they spend in the different sectors, from all the different states, international or domestic. We have domestic right now because we didn't have any international business last year. And I don't know if you know this or not, but we lost last year over $10 million in international visa spending. We had that in 2019. So we did not have that spending of 10 million coming into our community. It was gone. So I have domestic spend by state, by the different sectors, whether it's restaurant or whatever. And we can look at that. I also have the occupancy report that I just got, a special report that looks at the occupancy report for the since 2013. For instance, last year, of course, COVID, in April, we had 11% occupancy. Years before that, we were in the 72, 73, 74. So we really took a hit. Obviously, last year, May was 29% occupancy when we were in the 80s all the years before that. So we're looking at all this information, and we have, August and I discussed, we want to put this together so that developers or people that are thinking of bringing their, companies here will have a lot of this information available. So we're sort of piecing it together. Jade has given me a spreadsheet that has all of the sort of the grants that could be available. We have that spreadsheet. If we can get whatever the city may have, but I think you're right. We need to sort of put a professional piece together. I also, if I can find it, this was a draft publication that was never approved, and I don't know if you can see this, but
Yeah.
first of all, we shouldn't be using playground. That is like an overused word. We need to change this, but this is the kind of, we want to put something together electronically that we can send out, come up with, so even though we are the travel, we're economic development. I do have Melissa Stocks here, who is a graphic designer who does both economic development and tourism. So we've got staff here where we can sort of create whatever it might be that we need. August is here, Ben will be here. So we will have a staff that'll enable us to pull all this together. So if you have ideas, and Brandon, that's great, about the type of content you'd like to see, that's also something that we would like to know, so we can start assembling a draft of what it might include.
Yes, it'd be a good point for the group to look at that draft and then add some input.
Exactly.
Those media kits. I'm working on some projects overseas right now, and there's pretty typically it's very competitive on what areas, how hard they push that, and what incentives they offer.
Yeah.
Specifically for Jade, does the state have a media kit that we could add on top of that? Because the state will most likely play the largest role on tax incentives to get those businesses into the area. And I know
GoEd, the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, now it's not called ED.
They go by Go Utah now.
Go Utah, there you go. And the EDC Utah, who's a big, a lot of companies work with EDC Utah, which I'm tied into EDC Utah. We get requests for, they'll send out requests for information, and I submitted one last fall about a greenhouse that was looking to come here. Unfortunately, our property prices were too much for them to handle. They couldn't even go to San Juan County because they looked here in San Juan. But EDC Utah sends out those requests for information. So we get those periodically. And a lot of times they want, a 200, they're looking for 200 people workforce, or, a 30,000 square foot building or whatever. And a lot of those times we just can't fill those needs. So, it depends on what we can apply for, but I do know that they are so willing to help our community, just like GoEd, same thing, and Jade and the team up in Price. So I have no fear that once we get all of our factual information, our statistics, and create whatever it is that we're putting together, they will help push it out for us. They will make, if companies get on their radar that might be smaller group of employees, smaller, building, they will help us and support us. And I know that for a fact. So I think we have a really good support mechanism with EDC Utah, with GoEd, with Southeastern Utah Association of Local Governments. I mean, we have a lot of resources. which I feel really good about. So,
Good. Yeah.
Carly.
Yeah, going for the future discussion items. I mean, I don't mean to do some scope creep, so if that's what's happening by my suggestions, I totally understand. I think that talking about economic development, we need to talk about housing as well, because we might be able to clear all the zoning hurdles and have all these great incentives, but if a business comes down with 100 employees, like that would be very difficult
Yes.
in this community. I have one new finance director, he's one employee, and I am having a hard time finding housing for him. And it's just one little family. So
I know it's terrible. I had 3 Vista candidates and they could not move here because they could find no housing. So I know. Yesterday, it's funny, yesterday, August and I had a call with Hasu, Ben Riley, and Jenna Wetzel, and we had a long, discussion with them and it's great because there were things on the drawing board, but not fast. Those things aren't going to happen within the next 18 months. I mean, we're talking a little ways out. So yes, I think we do have to have a discussion about that. Absolutely.
not just affordable housing, but just middle income housing and those kinds of barriers. I mean, there are 2 ways to look at the diversification. It could be developing talent here locally that already exists.
Right.
I think that should be examined. But I think we're also envisioning bringing new folks maybe from the outside, or just, additional talent. So,
right.
And
I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on with these conversations. Absolutely.
And on top of that, if I can just interject just a second, along with that goes workforce shortage as well. And I'm sorry, I'm just hopping on. I've been playing nurse to kids all afternoon, but I just wanted to throw that plug in there because that goes right along with affordable housing. I feel like the 2 go hand in hand, but we don't even have enough employees to fill the jobs we have now.
Yeah.
Or properly trained.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Lacey, just wanted to inform you that the board did vote, and you are the secretary of this council. So that's out there. I'm taking notes today, but just wanted to point that out.
And I'm recording, Lacey, so it shouldn't be too difficult. We'll help you out.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
She's a good sport. Yeah, I agree. I think that is, I don't know how we will solve that problem, but that seems to be a huge challenge no matter what. And the other thing we just found out from a call with Emory Telecom, I think it was yesterday, can't remember, that we will not, it looks as though, we might know more next month, but it looks as though we will not have high-speed internet all throughout our county for at least 5 years. That's what we're looking at. And the reason is, and I do not understand this, the reason is because Frontier is our carrier of last resort. And we really got the screws put to us having them as our carrier of last resort, because it really makes a very challenging situation to be able to move us forward. Emory and Carbon are about 99.5% high-speed internet, fiber to the home. They're golden. Castle Valley is now working through that process. Bluff will have, south of us in San Juan County. We're going to be surrounded by it, and yet we will have to be, wait at least 5 years before we would have it throughout the entire Grand County, which is really sad. And especially the way technology is changing from, year to year. Who knows what it'll be by then, but right now that's what they had indicated. And August, I don't know if you want to add anything else to that conversation, about that conversation we had.
Yeah, I was just going to add, basically Emory is committed to this area and plans to build out as fast as they can, and just the obstacles in their way make it so it takes some time. But their goal, I should say, it sounds 5 years to completion, not 5 years to starting it. So they're working on it. And there's also some other projects in the works that will allow them to build the robustness of that network. Specifically, they're building out all the way to Dove Creek and beyond, east of Monticello, which will allow them to connect to a fiber connection that exists that goes up to Grand Junction, and they are over on 70 over Grand Junction. So it basically creates a loop that if there's an issue on one area, there's a redundancy built in, so that we don't just all lose internet if a cable gets cut.
And that's what they're working toward. They really have our best interest in mind, but unfortunately the Utility Commission, we're waiting to see what will come next month. But it's just, from my vantage point, it's really disgusting to know that here we are, the city that we are, with all that we have, and we are going to be last on board with high-speed fiber to the home in all locations, and it'll take up to 5 years. Now, Emory and Carbon have been working on this for several years, but because we have Frontier as our carrier of last resort, that has really, really, really put a dent in us being able to move forward, or Emory to move forward, I should say. So hopefully something may materialize, next month. We're waiting to see, or waiting to hear back. But right now, that's, as it stands, that's what it looks like.
I would love to have like a discussion on this broadband issue, because I don't quite understand it. Like if it's a franchise issue, if it sounds like the Public Service Commission, or is something to say in it.
Yeah. It's the public service that, because Frontier, was, as long as they can provide the phone service, then, unfortunately the federal laws need to be changed. And that's what I want to hold our legislators' feet to the fire to say. They're all talking all over, about rural broadband, but when you get into a situation as we have here with, we're beholden to Frontier, and we can't do anything about it. But because Frontier's saying, we're delivering service, but they're not delivering the service that we need. How can we bring remote workers? How can we do all these things we want to do without having the high-speed internet that we need? Liana?
I would like to add to that it's a real equity issue, right? And we've seen this with the schools and, with COVID and things like that for education and remote working. And I'd like to, it sort of nudged me to suggest that we also take into mind always, when we're talking about economic development, is not just bringing in new stuff, but caring for ours who are here, and working with folks to try to find if there's some new industry. Let's train them here to better their lives, and see what we can do to work with a lot of the the local nonprofits and stuff that are doing amazing things, trying to help with intergenerational poverty, and really try to address equity in our town, because we have a very, that sort of haves and have nots, and we do have a workforce here that we can train. The new industries come in, mining, if there's, we were already sort of thinking about the mine. Can we train folks to work in and help new industries, and help our community at the same time? So I'd like to make sure that we're always kind of thinking about equity and
I agree with that, because if we've got the availability of the workforce here, and they live in an area in Grant County where they don't have, they have their computer, they're trained, but they don't have high-speed internet because they can't work for a tech company up, on the Silicon Slopes, that's going to put those people at a disadvantage. So it's like, really? if we have, we have so many opportunities with our local community, but if they can't connect the way they need to, let alone say bringing people down who want to work remotely, if they're staying in a location that doesn't have the availability of the fiber, then that puts us, I feel it puts our community at a disadvantage, and that makes me crazy. So,
Elaine, if you'll remind me, and I'll try to remember too, but this is something that we could maybe talk to Justin Anthony about in our chamber meetings. We had, so just so everybody else is aware, we have the business outreach director for Senator Lee's office attends all of our chamber meetings. And so if it's a federal issue, we could definitely talk to him and bring that up, because that's something that we haven't talked about with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to address it, and I think our community doesn't really understand it, but I have been hounding on this. When I was just the travel council, I was hounding, to economic development across the way and got nowhere. And now that I'm tasked with economic development, I'll be darned if I'm going to let this thing rest. And if we have to go to the federal congressmen and representatives and state, they have to do something. We cannot continue to be isolated like this when we'll have, for heaven's sakes, Dove Creek and, Bluff City. And here we are with swaths of Grand County that it could be 5 years till they get way out there to install. So I think and we probably do have a potential workforce here that could tap into those remote jobs. Mm-hmm. So we really need to address that.
I'm really happy for Dove Creek and those guys that they got it. I mean, that's wonderful. But I think that the high-speed internet could be just as big of a equity issue as the housing, for bringing in companies if we don't have that.
And they're going to have, they're working toward the Navajo Nation, which I think is fantastic to get the schools. I mean, that is so wonderful. But then I come back and look at us and where we are and everything that we have, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. We shouldn't be in this position. We should be able to offer better for our current residents of Grand County. We shouldn't have the residents here be in that position. So anyway, sorry, I'm just real passionate about high-speed internet, fiber to the home, as you can tell. Okay, well, Lacey, I think that's a great idea. I don't know, Gabriel, I sort of like to tread lightly when it comes to involving legislators, offices, or communication. I don't want to step on the commissioner's toes. So we need some advice. What would you recommend?
Yeah, I think that we're all very supportive. I'm at the moment having a hard time coming up with any sort of potential pitfalls in us reaching out, in you reaching out to Senator Lee's office to sort of, or doing what we need to do to gather more information, to see if this can be pushed at that level. I don't see that damaging us as a county. So I think that that's a goal that everyone here, that everyone on the commission shares. I obviously I can't speak for everyone on the commission.
Right. Okay. Well, I know you have inside information because you're on the council or commission, and I just want to make sure that we're not, stepping on anybody's toes by saying, okay, Lacey, we want to move forward. We'd love to have that conversation. So,
maybe just communicating that with the giving them updates and things.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right.
Yeah, if we just identify kind of the problem and maybe a solution, something that maybe is done somewhere else, and then we present it using our lobbyists or elected officials. Our lobbyists.
Well, hopefully, Emory Telecom told me that they're going to get back to us probably next month with an update. So maybe what we'll do is wait till that update happens. We'll see what they come back to us with. and then we can go from there. But in the meantime, August and I will do some more research. It was great to have the conversation yesterday and know that there could be a light at the end of the tunnel at some point next month with some positive information. So we'll see what comes out of that. So cool. All right. And Lacey, I think we'll wait till we hear that, and then we can also talk about getting to Justin, and then, you know, what form that takes with who do we need to engage with, lobbyist or, you know, whatever that form takes. But we'll let you all know what our findings are once
Right.
we.
I'm here, whatever you need. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think that's it for me. Does anyone have anything else that you would like to discuss? No? Okay.
One thing that's kind of on my medium-term to-do list is developing some sort of a community engagement and communications strategy on this, in terms of making sure that the greater community is aware of these diversification efforts, that they are being not only informed of what's happening, but engaged in terms of getting their thoughts, so that we can provide feedback to the commissioners, and try to do that in a forum that's not just a commission meeting or not just a public hearing. Some sort of trying to get a little creative with it and trying to make it not so political and a little bit more community engagement, storytelling oriented. And that's something that's in the not so distant future, but just wanted y'all to know that we're thinking about community engagement on this topic and making sure that there are some grassroots conversations informing our decision making. That's all.
We really want to make sure that the community is involved as much as possible and we get feedback. And on that note, we are going to be implementing a destination stewardship program through Coraggio. Coraggio has worked with other communities around the state and other states to talk to communities about how to move forward with tourism. We're talking to them about stewardship. So they're going to be contacting several of you to see if you will be on a focus group to answer some questions. But they're reaching out. I gave them some contact information, different individuals, so you can weigh in on these focus groups. But we're going to talk about how, where do we see our community from a destination stewardship, program in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Where do we see this community? So they're excited to work on it because it's completely different than working forward on how to bring tourism to a county. They worked with Emory and Carbon. We're just we're trying to reach out, and the main goal is to let the community know that we really do care. The county travel council, we care about the community. We're going through this process. We want everybody to weigh in. We're going to do some visitor survey, community outfitters, businesses, leaders of the community. They're going to have everyone weigh in on these focus groups. And then we have a planning team to sort of arrive at this, where we're going to, the path that we're going to put Grand County on as we move forward. So I'm excited about that. August talked about his, the survey that we want to do for the community. We have a lot of things that we're planning on implementing. We overhauled the Grand County, Utah homepage for economic development, but I am looking forward to getting approval that we could have a real economic development website for for Grand County. We don't have that right now, and we need that desperately. Once we get past all of our planning, Brandon, as you had said, with our statistics and putting a marketing, deck together. But we have we can do that right here. We don't have to pay a company to create a website. We can do that internally. And I think we need to have a website created that just focuses on economic development for Grand County and Moab City, and we could combine it, and I think it could be a really robust website rather than just the page on the county, the county website. So that's kind of coming, and I'm sure I will be going to the commissioners to seek their approval to be able to do that. I think that's it for me. Anything else? So, no? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to end our meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Do I have a second?
A second.
Awesome. Thank you all. You can email me, August, send us whatever, and we'll get dates for the next meetings going forward on the first Wednesday of the month. Thank you all.
I think we still have to vote to adjourn technically.
Oh yes, vote to adjourn. All in favor? Okay, awesome. Lacey, are you in favor?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, Elaine.